Hi, I'm Mike Petrilli, an executive editor at Education Next, and I'm here today with Emily Cohen, a policy director at the National Council on Teacher Quality, and the co-author with Kate Walsh of a new article in the journal, Invisible Ink. Emily, welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your article. What's the main argument that you make?
The argument is that the states are playing an increasing role in shaping teacher policies, and then it's not just in the contract, the rules governing teachers. A lot of what people assume to be in teacher contracts and collective bargaining agreements is actually found in state law.
Okay, so when reformers say, hey, what we really need to do is to fix these teacher union contracts, to maybe do what Michelle Reed did in D.C., for example, they're missing part of the story. So what is it that you generally find in state law or state regulation instead of in teacher union contracts?
Well, for example, tenure. Everybody thinks that contracts are deciding the rules for tenure. Well, actually, you really won't see much in a teacher's contract that talks about tenure. It's pretty much always in state law. States set the minimum time period before teachers can earn tenure. Mm-hmm. But this being said, it doesn't mean that teacher contracts can't address things regarding tenure. They can make the process more meaningful even though they don't have a say in necessarily the probationary period for teachers.
Okay, what about teacher evaluation? We've seen a lot of movement on that issue, particularly because of the focus and race to the top. Got states like Colorado that have moved some legislation. Is that something that also is mostly governed at the state level? It's
mixed for teacher evaluation. States are increasingly getting involved in evaluations and making student performance a factor, a required factor in what teachers must be evaluated on, but it is mixed, and just because it's at the state level doesn't mean that districts can't write their own policies, okay. But states can also write policies that would set a higher standard for all districts in a state.
Okay, but if you're just focused at the district level, you're going to miss something that's happening in state policy. But how does this all come about? I mean, is this because teacher unions have found it more helpful to get certain policies favorable to them in state policy instead of district by district? I mean, is that the basic storyline?
Exactly. It's a lot easier to lobby for a policy at the state level than in 100 districts in a state. Yeah. And once it's in state law, it's pretty much a done deal. Right. Of course, once it's in a contract, it's pretty much a done deal as well.
And yet we're starting to see some of these state policies change.
Right.
What do you give credit to?
I think there's a really, the forces are coming together, the stars are aligned, so to speak, and there's race to the top has been a great impetus for a lot of these changes, and really the rise in state advocacy organizations in the past 5-10 years, and Teach for America alumni becoming more involved in education reform. All these things are helping to propel change at the state level.
Okay. So in advocacy groups like, say, CONCAN and Connecticut.
CONCAN and Stand for Children and Democrats for Education Reform.
Right. So right now with the recession and the funding crisis that a lot of places are facing, one of the big issues is around teacher layoffs. And if you have to lay off teachers, which teachers? And do you have to follow this whole last hired, first fired? So again, is that an issue that is predominantly in contracts, or is that also a state policy?
It depends on the state. About 14 states or so require that teacher layoffs are done by seniority, so last hired, first fired. But in other places, it's decided at the local level. Often, though, you'll see the very same policies of seniority, whether it's decided at the state, you'll see the very same language in a local contract.
So the unions are sort of protecting their turf. But that does mean that if you're a policymaker, you're trying to figure out how can I save money or handle this recession more effectively, you might have this lever to pull at the state level, where if your state might be requiring last hired, first fired, and that's something you could change as a governor, get your legislature to change that.
Absolutely. Arizona changed that policy in the end of 2009, making performance a factor in teacher layoff decisions.
Okay. Well, great. Well, Emily, thanks so much for coming.
Yeah, good to be here. Thank you.